Well, welcome, Nikki. Thank you so much for joining me here today and being a part of our Seat at the Table series. If you want to just go ahead and get started by introducing yourself and a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I'm Niki Ellis. I'm the executive director for the Kentucky Pork Producers Association. I also head up the lead role between the collaborative efforts between Kentucky and Tennessee Pork Producers Associations. But when I'm not doing that, my husband Brandon and I, we own and operate Vistabrook Farms here in central Kentucky. We have a farrow to finish operation, do row crops, but more importantly, we are members of the show pig world. Last Saturday, we just had our annual sale. I got to send about 75 pigs to their new homes, which is the most rewarding part. Here, we raise, I think we've got 8 different breeds altogether. So every shape, size, and color, we've got them all. Both of our boys exhibit hogs. Both are members of NJSA and Team Purebred. We live it, we breathe it, and we just so enjoy the lifestyle and everything that the industry brings.
Awesome. Love that. I think we all definitely eat, sleep, and breathe this. We all have such a great passion for it. Do you want to go through kind of your journey and getting to your position that you're in now?
Yeah, great question. So I graduated in 2014 from the University of Kentucky with a bachelor's in career and technical education. Like so many, I thought I wanted to be an ag teacher. That lasted for about 10 minutes and quickly realized that that just wasn't my calling. Great respect for everyone in that field, but it just wasn't for me. Still a huge advocate for youth development and things, but I'm like, there's got to be a different route for me. So I applied for a job at the Kentucky Cattlemen's Association as the director of consumer affairs. About 2 months after I applied for that job, I finally got a phone call from their executive vice president. And he said, "Well, Nikki, I really like what your resume says. Let's talk a little bit more." So I went and met with him, and he looked at me and said, "It's so funny to look back on all this now." But he said, "I really like everything about you, but I don't want to offer you the job." And I said, "Well, I kind of looked around. I'm like, man, that's kind of rude to say straight up to somebody." But he said, "I have a better idea. The way that you look at education and things, I just want to offer you an education position and you make it what you." So I was the director of education for the Cattlemen's Association for about 7 years. Did all sorts of things, taught university classes on the cattle industry. I helped create the classroom at Bluegrass Stockyards in Lexington. So if you ever make your way through there, Abby, stop in. A very unique learning experience there. I was the state junior cattlemen's advisor. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Then also did a lot of planning around, our annual marketing plan, budgets, all those sorts of things. Then at about year 7, started hearing that the executive position at the Pork Producers Association was going to come open. Had a few pork producers reach out to me and say, "Hey, why don't you throw your name in the ring?" And I did, and I got it. So I've been here in this role now for it'll be 4 years in September. And it's been a wild ride, but I wouldn't change it for anything.
Awesome. So when you got that position or when that position opened, kind of what motivated you to pursue that leadership role?
Yeah, uh, it was definitely a major step forward. I mean, going from a manager director role up to that executive level, that's a big jump. And with that, things begin to look differently. You're not really focused too much on the tactical things. You have to start thinking at a much higher level. Where can you steer the organization to meet the industry where it's going to be 5, 10, 20 years from now? But I feel like I was just ready to go. And also at that time, obviously with being married to a hog producer, you want to make sure that your industry is just as strong as the next. And I kind of felt that responsibility of, hey, if I want to see this industry go on and be profitable, have longevity, and be sustainable for my boys, even somebody who cares a lot needs to be in that position. So that's what steered me there, and that's still my driving force every day.
Definitely. I love that. So you had mentioned you and your husband run an operation, a show pig operation. How maybe has your experience as a show pig producer helped you prepare for this position that you're in now?
Wow, that's a really great question. So being a show pig producer helped me in my role now as the executive director of our association in a lot of different ways. The show pig world, we might say that it's about pigs and genetics and those type things. It's a people business. You've got to have a strong network. You have to go out and meet people where they are. And I think that's definitely one of the biggest drivers. I think also too, the show pig industry is a little bit different than like the commercial industry. You have to create your own success, right? There's not an established market for you. You have to go and make it yourself. Sure, you can upload pictures to showpig.com, and sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. You have to have that established firm behind that, right? Showpig always talks about building the brand and doing a little bit more, and there's so much truth in that. So I think that that little bit of drive and resiliency that comes with being in the show stock world, I think that's definitely helped me along the way.
Can you piggyback on that a little bit and talk about just what's been the most rewarding aspect of your involvement within this industry so far?
Oh wow. That's a really big question. The most rewarding aspect so far, I think it's just creating the little wins. It's really hard to get the big wins, but I think when you can see that programs that you're doing in your day job are adding value to what folks are doing on the farm. I think that that's the biggest thing. Here in Kentucky, we don't really have a major jackpot series, and something that we try to do as an association is we try to create success for commercial, show pig, direct to consumer folks. And we've done really great on the commercial side. We've done really good on the direct to consumer side, but we were lacking in helping that market on the show pig deal. And through my job and my networking and things, was able to work with our Commissioner of Agriculture, Jonathan Shell, and we actually have a new Kentucky Proud Livestock Classic coming 2 weeks after our state fair, which is Kentucky only animals that get to be exhibited there. And we have seen and heard over the sales season that people are able to market more animals and are getting a higher value for them simply because I had that conversation with the commissioner and lit that idea in his head that, oh man, maybe if we step out and create more opportunities for locally produced show stock, maybe that can help these genetic programs along. And it certainly has. So I feel like little things like that are really rewarding.
So this kind of leads into our next question, talking about what initiatives or programs y'all are working on right now. You touched on the show. I think that's such a neat idea. I love that. But maybe is there anything else, or is that kind of the focus right now?
Oh, no, we've got several different things going on. I think from a promotion education aspect, one of the coolest things that's coming out of our office right now is Team Pork, which you can find Team Pork on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. And what that is it's a set of programs that are lined up that marry the need um, for biosecurity and traceability between not only commercial pigs but also show pigs. So that's taking things, again, like an elevated biosecurity plan, and understanding like the management of animals that are moved around constantly, and then also creating traceability behind that. Because if we were to ever have a major disease outbreak, to continue business as usual, you have to be able to prove, are you in that zone? Are you out of that zone? And it's not just commercial pigs that are going to market. If something like that were to happen, immediately you're going to see, shows shut down, right? And so if we as a show pig industry can illustrate, these here we are in this sector, we're good here. The state vet's going to say, hey, you're good to go. You guys can still continue on business as usual. So again, that's on the promotion education side. But then whenever you take a step over to the policy side, what we have seen happen with Proposition 12 coming out of California, some legislation there that overreaches into the other states across the US that puts kind of arbitrary space for sows and pigs and things. A lot of folks thought that that's just going to affect the commercial industry. Well, no. Last year, a lot of show pig producers realized, hey, we're going to have to get audited too if we're going to sell into that California market. And I think that was one of the biggest eye openers to a lot of folks who are new to the industry that, to policy, a pig is a pig. It doesn't matter what its intent is. And I think in that space, in our state at least, we are still actively advocating for a fix to Proposition 12 at that federal level. We're actually going back to DC in 2 weeks to meet with our congressional folks to still advocate for that change. So I mean, there's such a multitude of things. I feel like in the pork industry, pig industry, show however you want to categorize it, we all want to live in our own silos in our mind, when in reality, we're all in this together.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly. You kind of mentioned that there's little gaps in between each of us. And so how do you think that these state associations and these programs can help bridge that gap between show pig producers as well as like other industry stakeholders?
Right. So this is actually a major topic of discussion across all state associations, and it's something that we're all slowly figuring out. Just because the the profile of a producer keeps evolving as new markets come available, people latch on to different things. And I think at least what we're doing in Kentucky is we're trying to create leadership roles for every sector. Okay. We're trying to have a mixed board of leaders that come from all walks of the industry. And I think something else that we're obviously working on with things like Team Pork and whatnot is taking tools and programs and making them more flexible to fit all the different roles, right? So if we have a secure pork supply plan that works for a 5,000 plus head finishing barn, what we're trying to do now is water that down so that it works for the show pig producer that has 10 sows and 2 barns rather than, vice versa. I think it's just trying to, again, meet people where they are, understand each of their goals. And then it's up to our association and our board leaders to help create success for those folks through whatever our programs and our strategic planning will bring.
Yes, awesome. How would you say this role has kind of changed your perspective on the show pig industry?
Great question. How has my role changed my perspective on the show pig industry? I think the show pig industry is so progressive and so innovative. And I think the rest of the ag industry could look in and really learn something. When you look at the way that we're able to market pigs, whether that's online, on Snapchat, how many show pigs are sold via Snapchat or text message. Whenever you look at how we're able to market genetics. You have purebreds, you have crossbreds, but now you have purebred influence hogs, and it's just constantly adding value to everything that that's out there. It's a massive, massive industry, and I think it's in my role now, I see that if more, like commercial producers, for instance, would take on that mindset and of just being open and trying to think outside the box like the show pig producer does, I think we could accomplish a lot, solve a lot of problems, and really create longevity in our industry. So I think more than anything, it's just shown me how truly special and spectacular show pig producers are. Creating your own success and creating tools and things that you need and not waiting for someone else to do it for you. That's pretty remarkable. I don't know many industries or jobs that do that.
Yes. I will say it wasn't until I got involved with showpig.com where I really understood that and realized that within our industry that there's so many opportunities. So, yeah, I love that. So, kind of to finish off here a little bit, got two more questions. What advice would you give to other producers considering a leadership role in either their state or local associations?
Yeah. I think first, you're needed, and second, you're wanted. These boards have to have diversity, and the only way they have diversity is if somebody shows up. So I know a lot of show pig producers have off the farm jobs. I'm an example of that. But if you can take a few hours out of every month to show up to a meeting, or every other month to show up to a meeting, you're needed. The way that you view the world and the industry and the problems and opportunities that we have coming, we have to have you at the table. And I think it's just that simple. But also, you are wanted. A lot of these folks who are in the farming industry or in pork production or pork processing or in animal health, they want you at the table because they want to understand how to help that segment of our industry. But you have to be present to share that. So step up to the plate. You're wanted. Reach out to your state association. There's 42 of us. Do a quick Google search and figure out how to get involved. If not, find me and I'll get you, connected with whomever your people are, because we need you. We want you. And if not a leadership role, but just interact and see where you can volunteer, whether that's going to your local elementary school and talking about how pigs are raised, or going one day to the state house, or going on a trip to Washington D.C. just to tell your story. Again, you're wanted and you're needed.
Awesome. Yeah, you kind of just answered that last one. I love what you said. There was an up and coming, I'm graduating college and getting ready to pursue the next step. It's so motivating to hear that, we're wanted and we're needed. And so I think that's something that, all of our audience can take away from. So thank you for that insight. Thank you so much, Niki, for joining me today and talking about all things association work. And so I appreciate your time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Abby, appreciate you. Thank you so much for the invitation.